Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt invisible? You stand there rehearsing clever things to say. You scan the room for a friendly face. You promise yourself, this time I'll be confident. And yet, someone else walks in. Within minutes, they're surrounded. People are laughing, leaning in, listening, and you wonder, what do they have that I don't? Here's the truth, it's not better looks, not higher status, not more intelligence, it's skill, the skill of making people feel important. Because conversation is not about being interesting, it's about being interested. Every person you meet, every executive, every stranger, every potential friend, every potential partner is silently asking one question. Do I matter? The person who answers that question without ever saying the words becomes magnetic. And here's the secret most people never learn. Charisma is not a personality trait. It's a set of behaviors, specific eye contact, specific timing, specific pauses, specific words, even specific ways of smiling. There are tiny techniques, almost invisible, that instantly change how people perceive you. Hold eye contact 1 second longer. Pause before you smile. Use someone's name at just the right moment. Turn your full body toward them when they speak. Lower your voice slightly instead of raising it. These small shifts create enormous emotional impact, and emotional impact creates connection. Connection opens doors in business, in friendships, in love, in leadership. Imagine walking into any room, networking event, office meeting, party, date, and knowing exactly what to do. No awkwardness, no overthinking, no replaying conversations in your head later. Just calm confidence, warm presence, effortless connection. What if you could talk to high-status people without intimidation? What if you could make strangers feel like old friends in minutes? What if people left conversations with you thinking, I really like her, I really respect him, I want to talk to them again? That is not luck, it is structure. And once you understand the structure, you can build connection anywhere. Because the truth is this, people don't remember the exact words you say, they remember how they felt standing in front of you. So the real question isn't, what should I say? The real question is, how do I want them to feel? Stay with me, because in the next hour, you are going to learn how to walk into any room and never feel invisible again. And once you master that, there is no person you cannot approach, no conversation you cannot navigate, and no opportunity you cannot create. Let's begin. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately spotted them? The people who seem to glow, the ones others gravitate toward without knowing why, the ones who never stand alone at networking events, the ones who effortlessly glide from conversation to conversation as if the entire room were choreographed just for them. Let me tell you something. They were not born that way. They were not handed a mysterious charm gene. They simply learned what most people were never taught. And tonight, I want to show you something that may change the way you walk into every room for the rest of your life. Communication is not about words, it is about emotional impact. Before you ever open your mouth, before you deliver your clever line, before you share your impressive story, you are already speaking. Your face is speaking. Your posture is speaking. Your eyes are shouting your confidence or whispering your doubt. One of the greatest myths about charisma is that it begins with conversation. It does not. It begins with presence. Let me take you back to a moment early in my life. I was at a gathering where I knew no one. I stood there rehearsing brilliant opening lines in my head. I had prepared interesting questions, I had read widely, I had knowledge, and still no one approached me. Why? Because my body was broadcasting. I hope no one notices I feel awkward. You see, people don't respond to your preparation. They respond to your signal. And the first powerful technique I want you to imagine is something I call the flooding smile. Most people smile too late. Most people smile too late. They smile while speaking. They smile mid-sentence. But powerful communicators do something different. They pause. They look directly at the person. They let their eyes lock for a heartbeat. And then slowly, they let a warm, authentic smile flood their face as if the very sight of that person just made their day. It sounds simple, but the emotional impact is seismic. Because what that pause says is this: I see you, not the crowd, not the room, you. And when someone feels seen, they lean in. Now let me tell you something else. Your eyes are more powerful than your voice. If you want someone to feel important, hold your gaze 1 second longer than feels natural. Just one. That single second says, you matter. I call it sticky eyes. And it is magnetic. Powerful communicators understand something subtle. People are not impressed by perfection. They are drawn to validation. If you make someone feel fascinating, they will remember you as fascinating. Let me repeat that. If you make someone feel interesting, they will believe you are interesting. Conversation is not a performance. It is a gift, and the gift is attention. One of the greatest social secrets I've ever discovered is this. The sweetest sound to any person, any language, is their own name. When you use someone's name gently, naturally, respectfully, you light up something ancient in the human brain. It says, you are not just another face in the crowd. Now imagine walking into a room armed with nothing more than eye contact, a flooding smile, and deliberate name usage. Suddenly, you are no longer hoping to be accepted. You are offering connection. And here is a powerful shift. Stop trying to be impressive. Start trying to be interested. Because interest is attractive. Curiosity is charismatic. When you lean forward slightly, tilt your head just enough, and listen as though the person is telling you the most riveting story in the world, something magical happens. They bloom, and when they bloom, they associate that feeling with you. That is influence, not manipulation, influence. Now let's talk about body language of confidence. When you enter a room, do not dart in. Pause. Stand tall. Let your shoulders relax downward. Take a slow breath. Look around as if you are deciding whom to bless with your presence. It is not arrogance. It is calm authority. And people trust calm authority. Nervous energy repels. Grounded energy attracts. Another powerful technique is something I call the big baby pivot. When someone is speaking to you, turn your entire torso toward them. Not just your head, not just your eyes, your whole body. Babies do this naturally when something captures their attention, and adults feel that full body attention deeply. It says, right now, nothing else matters. And that is rare, very rare. In a distracted world, full attention is luxury. Now here's a truth that may surprise you. Small talk is not trivial. Small talk is the gateway to big talk. It is not meaningless chatter. It is emotional reconnaissance. Weather, events, surroundings, these are not the goal. They are bridges. The goal is comfort, and comfort creates openness. People reveal themselves in layers. Respect the layers. Rushing intimacy feels invasive. Earning it feels intimate. And here is one of my favorite guiding principles. A confidence is silent. Insecurity is loud. You do not need to dominate a conversation. You do not need to interrupt. You do not need to prove. The powerful communicators allow silence. They are not threatened by it. They use it. A slight pause before responding creates anticipation. Anticipation creates authority. Authority creates magnetism. If you want to talk to anyone, truly anyone, remember this. People are not evaluating your brilliance. They are evaluating how they feel in your presence. Make them feel safe. Make them feel seen. Make them feel seen. Make them feel significant. And you will never struggle socially again. In the next part, we go deeper. We will explore how to enter groups without awkwardness, how to speak with high-status individuals without intimidation, and how to subtly project authority without saying a word. Because talking to anyone is not about volume. It is about value. And you are about to learn how to become unforgettable. Let me ask you something. Have you ever stood on the edge of a group conversation, pretending to check your phone, waiting for the right moment to enter, and that moment never came? Of course you have. We all have. There is a particular kind of social anxiety reserved for entering groups. One-on-one feels manageable, but three people laughing together, that can feel like trying to jump onto a moving train. And yet, there are people who glide into groups so smoothly it looks effortless. Here's the secret. They do not enter with words, they enter with energy. Before you ever speak, you must understand something subtle. Groups are emotional circles. They are not just people standing together. They are shared rhythm, shared attention, shared vibration. If you want to enter, you must first match the rhythm. Do not charge in with a booming introduction. Do not interrupt with your opinion. Instead, approach slowly. Stand just within the circle. Make eye contact with the speaker. Smile lightly. Listen. And here is the powerful technique. The gradual accession. You join with your body before you join with your voice. When the speaker finishes a sentence, you nod in agreement. You mirror a subtle expression. You let your face reflect the emotion of the moment. Now you are not an intruder. You are an ally. And when the laughter comes, you laugh with them. Suddenly, you are no longer outside the circle. You are part of the emotional field. Then and only then you contribute, and your contribution should not be a takeover. It should be a bridge. Perhaps you say, that reminds me. Or I've noticed something similar. Or even better, you ask a question that expands what was just said. People welcome expansion. They resist interruption. Now let's talk about something even more powerful. High-status individuals, the executives, the influencers, the celebrities, the powerful personalities. Most people shrink in their presence. Their voice tightens. Their laugh becomes their posture collapses slightly. Why? Because internally they are saying, this person is more important than I am. But here's a truth that will change everything for you. Status is contextual. In one room, someone is a CEO. In another, they are simply someone's nervous father at a school event. No human is permanently above you. They simply occupy a different position in a different arena. The most magnetic communicators understand something critical. Never look up to anyone. Never look down on anyone. Look across. When you speak to someone powerful, maintain your pace. Do not speed up. Do not overlaugh. Do not overshare in an attempt to impress. Instead, slow slightly. Calm your breath. Hold your gaze half a second longer than usual. And speak as though you expect to be heard, because confidence signals equality, and equality creates respect. Now here's something fascinating. High-status people are accustomed to people trying to impress them. What they rarely experience is someone who makes them feel normal. If you can speak to a powerful person without performing, without flattery, without desperation, you become refreshing. And refreshing is unforgettable. Now let me introduce something I call the exclusive smile. When you enter a room, do not spray smiles everywhere like confetti. Do not grin at everyone in a frantic attempt to appear friendly. Instead, reserve your deepest smile for individuals. Make it selective. Make it intentional. This creates value. Value creates intrigue. And intrigue creates attention. People are drawn toward what feels earned. Another secret of entering rooms with presence is posture, but not stiff posture. Relaxed authority. Imagine a string gently lifting the crown of your head upward. Let your shoulders fall naturally back. Let your arms hang loosely at your sides before you engage. Walk at a measured pace. Never rush. Rushing signals insecurity. Measured movement signals control, and control signals confidence. There is also the art of the strategic pause. When someone asks you a question, do not rush to answer. Take a breath, a small one. Let silence sit for half a heartbeat. Then respond. That pause communicates thoughtfulness. Thoughtfulness communicates depth. Depth commands respect. Fast responses often feel reactive. Measured responses feel intentional. Now let us talk about conversation inside groups. Many people make a crucial mistake. They direct their answer only to the person who asked the question. Powerful communicators answer to the group. Even if one person speaks, your eyes should briefly include others as you respond. This widens your influence. It draws the circle toward you. And here is something else. Use names strategically. If someone in the group says something insightful, reference them by name when building upon it. As Maria was saying, that small gesture does something powerful. It elevates Maria, and it subtly positions you as someone who notices and connects. Connectors are powerful. Now I want to speak about something most people ignore. Exiting conversations. Have you ever felt trapped in one? The graceful exit is an art. Never disappear abruptly. Never glance around anxiously for someone better. Instead, signal appreciation. It was really great hearing your perspective on that. Pause, then give a reason, not an excuse for your departure. I promised myself I'd say hello to a few more people tonight. Smile warmly and leave deliberately. When you exit with intention, you maintain dignity. And dignity leaves a stronger impression than duration. You do not need to dominate the room. You need to touch it lightly, strategically. And one final secret for today. Before you enter any room, business, social, formal, casual, ask yourself one question. How do I want people to feel after interacting with me? Not what will they think. What will they feel? Calm? Energized? Respected? Heard? Choose your emotional outcome before you walk in, and then let your posture, pace, eye contact, and tone align with that intention. Because communication is not accidental, it is architectural. You are building impressions moment by moment. And when you learn to build them deliberately, you will discover something extraordinary. You are no longer hoping to belong. You are choosing how to connect. In the next part, we will go even deeper. We will explore how to make anyone feel instantly important, how to master the art of magnetic listening, and how to make people crave conversations with you again and again. Because talking to anyone is not about speaking more, it is about making others feel more. And that is a power very few people truly understand. Let me tell you a secret about people. Everyone you meet is silently asking the same question, but baby successful. They may be confident, they may be wealthy, brilliant, socially fluent, and still, beneath the surface, that quiet question hums. Do I matter? The person who can answer that question without saying the words becomes unforgettable. Most people believe conversation is about exchanging information. It is not. It is about exchanging validation. When someone walks away from you feeling slightly taller, slightly brighter, slightly more significant, they will seek you again. And that brings us to one of the most powerful skills in human connection, magnetic listening. Now you might think you know how to listen, but most people do not listen. They wait. They wait for their turn. They wait to insert their story. They wait to correct. They wait to impress. But magnetic listening is different. Magnetic listening is active generosity. It is when your eyes soften slightly as someone speaks. It is when your head tilts just a fraction in curiosity. It is when your eyebrows respond subtly to emotion. It is when you let silence exist without scrambling to fill it. And most importantly, it is when you react emotionally, not just verbally. If someone shares good news, light up. Let your face brighten fully. If someone shares disappointment, let your expression soften with empathy. Emotional mirroring tells someone, I am with you. And when someone feels accompanied emotionally, trust forms rapidly. Here is something fascinating. The brain lights up more when speaking about itself than when discussing almost any other subject. So if you want to become captivating, learn to become captivated, ask open-ended questions. Not a did you enjoy the trip, but a what was the most surprising part of the trip? Not a do you like your work, but a what do you love most about what you do? Notice the difference. Closed questions, close conversations, open questions, open people. And when someone begins sharing something meaningful, here is the magic technique. Echoing. If they say, it was the first time I presented to a room that large, you gently respond, the first time in a room that large, it invites expansion. It signals interest. It keeps the spotlight where it belongs, on them. Now let me share something counterintuitive. If you want to be seen as intelligent, do not rush to show your intelligence. Instead, ask intelligent questions. Intelligent questions elevate the entire conversation. They show depth without ego. An ego is a conversation killer. Have you ever spoken with someone who constantly redirects the story back to themselves? You say, I just got back from Italy. They reply, oh, when I was in Italy. Suddenly, your experience has vanished. Do not be that person. Instead, stay on their story just a little longer than most would. That extra minute of curiosity is rare, and rarity creates value. Let me introduce another subtle power, the as-if technique. When someone shares an accomplishment, respond as if it were entirely expected. If someone says, I just closed a major deal, instead of gasping theatrically, say warmly, that sounds exactly like something you'd accomplish. You have now attached competence to their identity. And identity-based compliments are the most powerful of all because they do not praise a moment. They affirm a character. Now let's talk about something delicate, how to handle awkward pauses. Silence frightens most people, but silence is only awkward if you panic. If silence appears, breathe, hold eye contact gently, let your posture remain open. Often the other person will continue. If they don't, you can re-engage with a thoughtful question. Silence used calmly signals confidence. Rushed chatter signals insecurity. And remember this, a comfort with silence is a sign of social mastery. Now I want to tell you about the art of making someone feel like the only person in the room, even in a crowded event, even in a busy hallway. When someone speaks, orient fully. No scanning the room, no glancing over their shoulder, no subtle checking of who might be more interesting. Those micro-behaviors destroy trust. Instead, practice the big baby pivot again. Full body, full attention. And here's something powerful. Lower your vocal tone slightly when you want to create intimacy. A softer tone draws people closer. It signals privacy even in public spaces. Now let us address something very important: self-disclosure. Connection deepens when vulnerability is exchanged, but it must be calibrated. Too much too soon feels intrusive. Too little feels distant. The key is progressive disclosure. Share something small first. See how it is received. Then go one layer deeper. Trust grows in increments, like climbing steps, not leaping floors. Here is one of my favorite truths. People will forget your exact words, but they will never forget how they felt in your presence. So ask yourself constantly, how am I making this person feel? Rushed, judged, interrupted, or heard, validated, safe? And now let me share something transformative. When someone criticizes or disagrees with you, do not defend immediately. Instead, validate emotion before logic. I can understand why you'd feel that way. This does not mean agreement. It means respect, and respect diffuses defensiveness. Once someone feels respected, they become open. Communication is not about winning arguments. It is about preserving connection, and connection is currency. The person who preserves connection while others burn bridges becomes invaluable. Now imagine walking into any conversation with this mindset. I'm here to elevate this person, not flatter. Elevate. And when you do that consistently, something remarkable happens. People begin to associate you with positive emotion. They feel energized around you, safe around you, important around you, and they will not consciously know why. They will simply say, I really enjoy talking to you. And that is influence at its highest level. In the next part, we will explore how to speak with authority, how to sound confident even when you feel nervous, and how subtle vocal shifts can transform the way others perceive your competence and power. Because talking to anyone is only half the equation. The other half is how you sound when you do. Now let's talk about something people rarely notice consciously, but always feel: your voice. You can say the exact same words, and one version will command respect while another dissolves into the air unnoticed. Your voice is your invisible handshake, and most people weaken it without realizing. Have you ever heard someone end every sentence as though it were a question? Their tone rises at the end, even when they are making a statement. It sounds like this: I've worked in marketing for 10 years. That tiny upward lift does something subtle. It asks for approval. It asks for validation. It asks, is that okay? Confident communicators land their sentences. They let the tone gently fall at the end. Not sharply, not aggressively, but decisively. The downward tone signals certainty. Certainty signals authority. Authority attracts attention. Now here's something fascinating. Speed communicates status. People who speak too quickly often sound anxious, as if they are afraid of being interrupted, as if they are racing against doubt. Slow down, not dramatically, just enough to create space between thoughts. Space creates gravity, and gravity creates presence. When you speak slightly slower than average, people lean in. They subconsciously assume what you're saying matters, because urgency without calm feels nervous. Calm without rush feels powerful. Let me tell you a story. I once observed two executives presenting the same proposal. The first spoke quickly, crammed details into every breath, and ended sentences sharply. The second paused between points. He looked at the audience after finishing key statements. He allowed silence to underline his ideas. Guess who commanded the room? Not the one with more information. The one with more control. Control of pace, control of tone, control of silence. Silence is not empty. Silence is punctuation. If you want a point to land, pause after it. Let the room absorb it. Do not rush to dilute it with explanation. And now let's talk about volume. Many people believe confidence means speaking louder. It does not. Confidence means speaking clearly. You can lower your voice slightly and paradoxically increase attention. A softer tone draws people inward. It feels intimate. It feels intentional. It forces focus. There is a technique I call the power of the whispered emphasis. When you reach an important word in a sentence, soften slightly instead of raising your volume. For example, instead of saying, "This is extremely important," you say, "This is extremely important." Soft, measured, grounded. It creates intrigue, and intrigue commands attention. Now let's address filler words. Alike. Every filler word chips away at authority, not because they are terrible, but because they signal uncertainty. Here's the trick. When you feel a filler word rising, replace it with silence. Yes, silence. It may feel long to you. To others, it feels thoughtful. A brief pause reads as intelligence. A filler reads as doubt. Practice answering questions by taking a breath first. That breath becomes your new habit, and habits build identity. Now let's discuss another subtle vocal power, emotional variation. Monotone kills magnetism. Energy rises and falls naturally in conversation. When you tell a story, let your voice reflect the emotion. If the moment was surprising, let surprise enter your tone. If it was amusing, allow a hint of laughter into your voice. If it was serious, slow down. Vocal variety mirrors life, and people connect to life. But here is the key: never exaggerate. Authenticity amplifies power. Performance diminishes it. Speak as though you are sharing, not performing. Now, I want to introduce something called anchored speaking. Before you speak in an important setting, a meeting, a date, a presentation, anchor yourself physically. Plant your feet firmly. Feel the floor beneath you. Relax your shoulders. Exhale slowly. Then begin. This physical grounding translates directly into vocal steadiness. Your body and voice are connected. If your body is tense, your voice tightens. If your body is grounded, your voice flows. Now let us explore authority and disagreement. How do you sound confident when you disagree? Never begin with "you're wrong." Instead, say, "that's one way to look at it." Or, "I see it a little differently." Your tone should remain calm, curious, measured. Authority does not shout, it reframes. When you speak with composure in disagreement, people trust your perspective more, even if they do not immediately agree. And here is something most people overlook: your laugh. Yes, your laugh. If you laugh too quickly, too loudly, too eagerly at everything someone says, you diminish your perceived value. Laughter should feel earned, warm, natural, selective. When you respond to humor with a soft smile before laughing, it signals discernment. Discernment signals intelligence. Now let's talk about projection. Imagine your words traveling not just to the person in front of you, but slightly beyond them. This subtle mental shift improves clarity and confidence. Actors know this, but you do not need a stage to use it. In meetings, on dates, and interviews, project gently past your listener. It prevents your voice from collapsing inward. And finally, let us discuss the emotional intention behind your voice. Before speaking, ask yourself, do I want to sound supportive, decisive, playful, compassionate? Choose the emotional color first, then let your tone align with it. When tone and intention align, authenticity shines, and authenticity is magnetic. Here is one of my favorite guiding principles. Your voice tells the world how to treat you. If your tone apologizes, people will diminish you. If your tone trembles, people will dominate you. If your tone steadies, people will respect you, not because you demanded it, but because you signaled it. Imagine combining everything you've learned so far, entering rooms with calm presence, listening with magnetic focus, speaking with grounded authority. You are no longer reacting socially. You are designing your impact. In the next part, we will explore how to build instant rapport with strangers, how to create deep bonds quickly, and how to make people feel like they've known you for years, even if you just met. Because connection is not luck, it is structure. And once you understand the structure, you can build it anywhere. Let me tell you something extraordinary about human beings. We decide how we feel about someone within seconds, not minutes, seconds. And most of that decision has nothing to do with what they say. It has to do with familiarity. We trust what feels familiar. We relax around what feels similar. We bond with what feels reflective. So if you want to talk to anyone, truly anyone, you must understand the architecture of rapport. Rapport is not chemistry. It is choreography. And once you learn the steps, you can dance with anyone. Let me show you how. Have you ever met someone and felt as though you'd known them for years within 5 minutes? That wasn't magic, that was mirroring. But mirroring must be subtle. If someone leans slightly forward, you lean slightly forward. After a moment, if they speak softly, you soften your tone just a little. If they gesture gently, you reduce your movement. You do not copy, you harmonize. Think of it like matching tempo in music. When two people move at the same rhythm, they feel connected. And here is something important. Match energy before you lead it. If someone is excited and animated, do not respond with stillness and seriousness. You will feel distant. Meet them where they are. Then gradually guide the energy to where you want it to go. That is social leadership. Now let's talk about shared identity. One of the fastest ways to build rapport is discovering common ground, but not in a checklist way. Not, "Oh, you like tennis? I like tennis." Go deeper. Ask, What got you into tennis? When someone shares the story behind their interest, you access emotion. Builds connection faster than facts. Facts are surface. Stories are depth, and depth accelerates bonding. Now let me give you a powerful phrase that builds instant connection. A me too. But it must be authentic. When someone shares an experience you genuinely relate to, let them know. A me too. I felt exactly that way when... You are no longer two individuals. You are allies in experience. But be careful. Do not hijack the story. Keep it brief. Return to them. Rapport is a bridge, not a takeover. Now, I want to introduce something I call emotional prediction. When someone describes a situation, gently articulate the feeling behind it. If they say, I had to present in front of the entire board last week, you might respond, that must have been intense. Or, that sounds exhilarating and terrifying. When you accurately name someone's emotion, they feel understood. And feeling understood is one of the deepest human cravings. Let's explore another subtle technique, inside references. If during conversation someone mentions something unique, perhaps they adore vintage bookstores, later you can say, you strike me as someone who would love that little bookstore on 5th Street. You have now demonstrated memory. Memory signals importance. Importance strengthens connection. And now let's talk about compliments. Not generic compliments, strategic compliments. A nice shirt is pleasant. But that color really brings out your energy, feels personal. The more specific the compliment, the more believable. And when possible, compliment qualities rather than possessions. While you have a calm way of explaining things, wow, that's an incredibly thoughtful perspective. These reinforce identity. Identity-based compliments linger. Now here's something most people misunderstand about rapport. Agreement is not required. Respect is. You can disagree and still build connection. Instead of saying, I don't agree, try, that's interesting. What led you to that conclusion? Honesty disarms defensiveness, and defensiveness destroys rapport. If you approach differences with genuine interest, you elevate the conversation. And elevation creates admiration. Now let's talk about physical space. Rapport exists in proximity. Too close feels invasive. Too distant feels detached. When speaking one-on-one, stand at a comfortable conversational distance and angle your body slightly, not directly squared off like confrontation, not turned away like disinterest. Angled openness feels safe. Safety builds trust. Trust builds rapport. Now I want to share something powerful, future bonding. If a conversation is going well, gently project into the future. We should continue this conversation. Or, and next time you're at an event like this, let's compare notes. You've just planted continuity. Continuity strengthens connection. Now imagine combining all of this, mirroring energy, finding shared identity, naming emotion, giving identity-based compliments, projecting into the future. You are no longer hoping for chemistry, you are engineering comfort, and comfort breeds connection. Let me share one of my favorite truths. People don't fall for perfection, they fall for reflection. When someone sees themselves, their values, their humor, their rhythm reflected in you, they relax. And when they relax, they reveal more. And when they reveal more, trust grows. But remember, authenticity is essential. Mirroring must feel natural. Curiosity must be real. Interest must be sincere, because forced rapport feels manipulative, and manipulation eventually collapses. True rapport is built on attention, respect, and emotional presence. Now, in our final part, we will explore how to leave lasting impressions, how to become unforgettable in both social and professional settings, and how to build a reputation as someone people want in every room, because talking to anyone is powerful. But being remembered by everyone, that is influence. Now we arrive at the final, and perhaps most powerful, dimension of talking to anyone. Being unforgettable. Because talking is a skill, connecting is an art. But being remembered, that is influence. You can have a pleasant conversation and disappear from memory within hours, or you can create an imprint. The difference is intention. Most people enter conversations hoping to be liked. Powerful communicators enter conversations intending to leave impact. And impact does not require dominance. It requires distinction. Let me explain. Have you ever met someone who later came to mind in a surprising moment? Perhaps you saw something and thought, that reminds me of her. That is not coincidence. That is association. Memorable people create associations. One way to do this is through what I call is-signature energy. Every socially magnetic person has a consistent emotional tone. Some are calm and grounding, some are uplifting and energizing, some are thoughtful and quietly insightful. They are not inconsistent, they are reliable. When people know how they feel around you, they trust you, and trust creates memory. Now let's talk about how to leave a conversation properly. Final moments matter more than the middle. Psychology tells us that people remember peaks and endings most vividly. So never drift away from a conversation casually. Close with intention. Summarize something meaningful they shared. I really loved your perspective on building a business slowly and intentionally. Or I'm so glad you told me about your trip. Your description made it come alive. Then, if appropriate, express future intention. I'd love to continue this conversation. And then, here's the secret. Leave first. Leaving first gracefully preserves value. It prevents overstaying. It leaves them wanting more. Now let's move into professional spaces, meetings, interviews, presentations. How do you become unforgettable without seeming theatrical? By contributing something thoughtful early. Many people wait too long to speak in meetings. By the time they find courage, the moment has passed. Instead, prepare one intelligent comment in advance. Offer it calmly near the beginning. It positions you as engaged and confident. After that, you can relax. Early contribution establishes presence. Now let's talk about storytelling. Facts inform. Stories persuade. If you want people to remember what you said, wrap it in narrative. Instead of saying, "A networking is important," say, "I once met someone at a small event who later became my business partner. All because I asked one extra question." Stories anchor memory, and memory builds reputation. Another powerful technique for lasting impact is personalization. If someone mentions an upcoming event, follow up later. A good luck on your presentation today. It may seem small. It is not. Follow-up is rare. Rarity creates distinction. Distinction creates memory. And now I want to share something profound. Reputation is built in whispers, not in grand gestures. People will speak about you when you're not in the room. The question is, what will they say? She's so easy to talk to. He really listens. She makes you feel important. Those are reputational assets, and they are built conversation by conversation. Here is one of my favorite guiding principles. A charm is making someone feel good about themselves in your presence. Not flattering them, not dazzling them, elevating them. If someone consistently feels respected, heard, and appreciated around you, they will advocate for you. Doors will open. Opportunities will appear because relationships are currency. Now let's address something subtle but powerful: authenticity. All of these techniques, eye contact, mirroring, vocal control, strategic exits, they are tools, but tools without heart feel mechanical. The foundation must always be genuine care. If you truly become fascinated by people, connection becomes effortless. Curiosity dissolves awkwardness. Interest dissolves anxiety, and service dissolves self-consciousness. When you shift from a "how am I doing" to "how are they feeling" low, your entire social experience transforms. Anxiety shrinks, confidence expands, and here is the most important truth of all. Talking to anyone is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming the most aware version of yourself. Your natural warmth, your natural intelligence, your natural humor, simply refined, directed, amplified. Imagine walking into any room now. You pause. You breathe. You scan calmly. You offer a selective, genuine smile. You listen with depth. You speak with grounded tone. You mirror gently. You close gracefully. You follow up thoughtfully. You are no longer hoping to belong. You belong because you create belonging. That is social mastery, and social mastery is not manipulation. It is generosity with structure. Now let me leave you with this. Every person you meet carries invisible stories, invisible insecurities, invisible brilliance. When you approach each interaction with the quiet intention to uncover something beautiful in the other person, you become rare, and rare people are remembered. So go into rooms not asking, "Will they like me?" Instead ask, "How can I make this moment meaningful?" Because when you make moments meaningful for others, you become meaningful to them. And that is how you talk to anyone. Not with scripts, not with tricks, but with awareness, warmth, and deliberate skill. And once you master that, there is no room you cannot enter, no conversation you cannot navigate, no person you cannot connect with. And that, more than anything, is power.